to start and end on time, even when technology is driving us crazy. So let's get on with the show. Where are you all tuning in from, and where did you hear about the event? Please type it in the chat. I heard from Linda Sunshine West on Clubhouse, and I want to know where all of you heard from us from. Tell us where you are in the world. Are you out in the West? Are you on the island? I want to hear about it. So let's see. Throw it in the chat. We have someone from Connecticut, Canada, San Diego, Oceanside, California. I like your attitude. I'm in California. Sunny, I love it. It's only 60 degrees over here right now, so I am jealous. Excellent. So today we have in the house some of the authors of Linda's soon-to-be released books, The Fearless Entrepreneurs, if I can talk, and Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. Their stories are incredible, and we're going to put a link in the chat to where you can pre-order your copy of one or both of those outstanding books. Linda's next book, Women Action Takers with Healing Hands, will come out the end of this year. If you are a healer and want to share your story, put #healer in the chat, and Linda or someone on her team will reach out to you. Again, you want to pre-order those books and you want to get involved, so put #healer in the chat if that applies to you. Here's what we have planned for today. We will start off today's event with our keynote speaker, ex-mob boss Ori Spado, also known as the Accidental Gangster. Ori is going to share his story. Yes, he was a real-life mob boss. After Ori is done speaking, we will have the networking event. Everyone will get 23 seconds to share what they are grateful for. Let's celebrate. You'll get 23 seconds, so absolutely get ready. Make sure to drop your contact info in the Women Action Takers Network Facebook group, where a recording of this video will be housed. People have connected from the replay videos, so make your time count. Additionally, after you've made your introduction, drop your details in the chat as well. This can be emails, Facebook, LinkedIn, Clubhouse handles, anything you want anyone to know to connect with you, make sure you put it in the chat. Even if it's one little thing, it is important. After all the sharing sessions of us going around, one of you is going to get your chance to share your story. Our usual tradition, 4 minutes of open mic with feed forward by our hostess, Linda Sunshine West. If you want an opportunity to speak, put #speak in the chat. However, there is one catch so you all know. There is no selling of products or services in this. You're going to share your story, valuable lessons, anything you want, but no selling of products or services. So again, if you want that opportunity, which I highly recommend, put #speak in the chat so I can add your name to the random drawing. Remember, Linda will be giving feed forward after you're done speaking. She is kind with her feed forward, and all of us will learn something. This is a non-judgmental group, so again, I highly suggest you do that. It's fantastic. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. I'd like to introduce to you the founder of Women Action Takers, where nothing happens without action. She is a speaker, 6 times best-selling author, red carpet interviewer, and is known as the Queen of Collaboration. Linda Sunshine West became an entrepreneur 6.5 years ago and has been inspiring and motivating women to take action ever since. Her mission is to inspire and motivate 5 million women worldwide, yes, 5 million, to take action to live the life they truly want to live. She does this with her mastermind, collaboration books, podcasts, shows, you name it, she's done it. If you want to be a part of what Linda is working on, type #IWantMore in the comments. Again, that's #IWantMore in the comments. So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to the founder of Women Action Takers, Linda Sunshine West. Yay!
The crowd goes wild. Hi, ladies and Ori. I'm so excited about today's show because I met Ori on Clubhouse, which I've met, some of you I met there, and several of you I see there on a frequent basis. I'm there all the time, as you know. And I was in a room and I heard him speaking, just sharing a little bit of his story and then also what he does today. And I just reached out to him and I said, hey, I'd love to have you come speak to my group. Is this something that interests you? And he said, yes. My point here is that, remember, when there's something that we want, we need to go ask for it. We need to put ourselves out there, and whatever it is that you want in life, you can have it as long as you're willing to go out there and ask for it. Sometimes you got to ask a couple more than one time, but it will happen. I actually reached out to Ori. It was probably about 6 weeks ago. We hopped on a call and then life happened. Things just started getting, in my life, things started moving different ways. And so I reached out to him again just recently, and it was just Thursday, right, Ori? I reached out to him on Thursday. I was like, are you available this Saturday? And he said, yes. So here we are today for Ori to share his story. He's known as the accidental gangster. He grew up in a community that he grew up in, the family, and he ended up becoming a mob boss. But now today he helps our youth to stay out of a life of crime. So I love what you're doing today, Ori. And I would love for you to just share your story with us. You got 30 minutes on the clock. And if anybody wants to ask any questions during, is that okay if we interrupt you during it, Ori? They ask questions? Ori?
Anybody can ask questions, yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, you are on. You've got the stage, Ori. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Linda. And good morning, everybody. And I thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be here today. My name is Ori Spado, two-time best-selling author of the book, The Accidental Gangster. This is the book right here. It's behind me also, if you can see it. I set out writing this book when I got out of prison. I did 5 years in a federal lockup, fighting a La Cosa Nostra case with the Colombo crime family out of New York. I spent 30 months in a Metropolitan Detention Center in New York before being transferred to Lompoc, California, where I served out the rest of my prison time. Upon my release in prison, there's one thing that I knew that I didn't want to do anymore, and that was go back to the life that I lived in. And I made a promise to my children I would not do that. And that's a promise that I will always keep. I ended up writing the book by accident. All my life, I've been an avid reader. While in prison, I read over 300 books. But when you're in prison, you got time to think and so forth. I'd be walking the yard one day. I don't know why. I came up with the name. If I ever wrote a book, not thinking I would, it would be The Accidental Gangster. And thus, upon my release from prison, I met with my entertainment law lawyer. And he looked at me and he says, Ori, I know your story. Write a book and we'll get the movie made. And thus, I wrote a book. And now that book is a 2-time bestseller. First on Amazon and then with the Los Angeles Tribune. When I wrote this book, inside my book, you will see where I say, if I could help one young man from going to prison, staying out of a life of crime, then this book was well worth it. I'm proud to say that I have helped several young men and even a lady stay out of a life of crime. I encourage them to find something that they love doing, whether it's going to college, or find a trade, or a business, something that they love doing. And I would mentor them through their journey. Since that also in the book, last paragraph of my book, or the epilogue, you will read where I ask for everybody to join hands, and together we can make this world a better place. And I firmly believe it, but it's got to begin with us, the people. We can't count on those people in Washington, D.C. And the sooner we wake up and realize those people in Washington, D.C. do nothing for us, it's up to us people to do it. And around the world, we all have problems, and we together can make this world a better place. And I hope, I begin my day every day, waking up, put my feet on the floor, and I get into a positive mindset right away with what I need to do, what I need to accomplish, and I do it. And I'm 76 years old. I've been doing that since I was 12 years old. Now I'm starting to get asked for, I'm doing speaking engagements and so forth. And you'll read in my book, I was the pioneer of the automobile after sales marketing. Way, way, way back. So when you guys go buy a car, And then the demo guy demos you the car and then turns you over to somebody. And then they had this, they had the credit life and accident health, they had the warranty, they had this, they had that. Well, here's the guy you can blame for that. But I'm happy to say that I have been invited to speak to a group of people at the National Auto Dealer Association in Las Vegas next March. So things are going very good for me. I'm very happy. And, you know, and it's an honor to be here with you ladies today. If anybody's got any questions, you know, I could talk forever. So if there's any particular stories anybody wants to know, I'll give you good news. There is a movie being made of my other book, The Accidental Gangster. There is
Awesome.
a movie.
I saw Pamela raise her hand. And if you do have any questions, please raise your little digital hand there and I'll call on you. So Pamela.
Hi, Ori. Thank you for being here with us today. It's wonderful to have you tell your story. And I guess I have a question. What was it in your environment, in your life, that led you to be easily swayed into this lifestyle? And do you have any tips for those of us who are parents to keep our kids out of trouble?
Yes, I do. Good question. Let me address the one about your children first, okay? Some of the signs that you should look for is sleeping later, all right? He has no interest in school, had a whole bunch of new different friends, coming home with items that you didn't give him the money to buy. There's a lot of signs, but you gotta be on the lookout for those. You know, I tell a lot of parents, and I know it's tough in today's world, and because the husband's got to work, the wife's got to work, or it's one, you know, one parent family, and, you know, it's very tough. But I grew up having dinner at the table every night with my parents, my brothers and sisters, and plus my grandfather and grandmother. So, and that was a requirement. We had to be home. And I recommend that for every parent because that family dinner, it's just not about what you're eating. That's irrelevant. It's the fact that you're together. And that should be family time together. Quality time that you spend with your children. And try to notice those little telltale signs. Anything different that you see in your child. His grades are going down, no longer interest. Those are the things that you got to pull them aside and find out what's happening. And if you need, reach out to me and I'd be happy to talk to them for you. You know, people ask me, when did my life turn? I began my career after the United States Army. I was honorably discharged, went back to Rome, New York, and I ended up getting a job with a Prudential insurance company. Now, like I said, I've been a hustler all my life. I was still single. I was engaged to be married, but I was still single. And I just hustled. I loved, and I had a thing. I got to sell one policy a day. I was making $500 a week. And I didn't realize I was the highest paid guy in the office. I became a member of the $1 Million Roundtable. I mean, there were guys supporting a family of 4 and 150 a week. So I was good at it. And I made a lot of money with it. And then eventually I built my own agency, the Ori Agency, where I trained. I bought the whole schoolhouse. I had a school. I brought in people from automobile dealers and insurance companies and trained them in the automobile after sale business. The business was growing. I was doing $3.5 million a year. I had agents throughout the state of New York working for me. When one agent, I was growing the business, I came up with a concept to bring it on a national basis. And because, you know, you gotta be licensed in the insurance business in each and every state. So I came up with a solution where I didn't have to be licensed in 50 states, but I had to have a representative licensed in that state. And the whole thing with the advertising, everything, I needed $12 million. And that's when my friend Ralph Serpi brought me to California, introduced me to Dino De Laurentiis, a famous film producer, director, and he was going to raise the money for me. However, I ended up getting indicted on a federal charge out of Syracuse, New York, where I lost my insurance license. And I could no longer sell insurance. And it was a devastating blow. But through the course of things, I had met different people in my life, and I ended up becoming friends with a lot of them. They're mentioned in my book: Frank Costello, Russell Buffalino, Carlo Marcello, Meyer Lansky. Most importantly, on the East Coast with John Sonny Frank Chase, who he and I became friends for over 40 years. And out here on the West Coast, Jimmy Cacci, who was the underboss of the Los Angeles family. I was always a money maker. People always made money with me. That never stopped. It still happens, legitimately. And that's what brought me into the RICO indictment and me being arrested in 2008 and ended up doing 5 years in prison. I believe it was my destiny. My life is my life. I take full responsibility for everything in my life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Nobody else do I blame. I accept it all. It was my destiny, and that's what brought me here today. And the Los Angeles Tribune is doing a story on me now, from gangster to humanitarian. And I feel this is what I was meant to do. And this is my purpose on earth. And I fight for the underdogs. I help people out. I try to teach people to stand up, fight for their rights. Things like that there. And that's what I'm here, folks. And ladies, thank you very much once again for having me. Any other questions? Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ori. We do have a question in the chat here. How did you become the accidental gangster?
Well, that was just a name that I came up while walking the yard up in Lompoc. When in my mind, I said, yeah, if I ever write a book, not dreaming I ever would. And that's when I came up with the name. Somebody else said I should have named it the Accessible Gangster, because I make myself very easily accessible to everybody out there today.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. I'm going to go to Sally. Sally, you got your hand raised. You want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, hi. I would just like to know what your craziest or funniest story that maybe with somebody that maybe we would know that you can share.
My funniest story with somebody, you mean a famous, a celebrity?
Yeah.
Well, Frank Sinatra and I, we used to sit at the bar at Mateo's over in Westwood, and because he wasn't allowed to smoke at his table. And you see, I still smoke. And he did until the day he died. We joked around a lot, but I'll never forget that one evening we're leaving and we're waiting for the valet for his car. And his car comes and he had $100 bill ready to tip the valet. And he asked the valet, he says, "What's the biggest tip you ever got?" And the valet said, $100, sir. So now he went back in his pocket. Now he took out 200. And he gives the guy the 200. And then he asked him, he said, by the way, who gave you the 100? He said, you did, sir. So I thought that was funny. And a lot of good times with Frank, Dean, a lot of the people that I never dreamed I would meet in my life as a child growing up in a small town in upstate New York. And, you know, things happen in my life that when I look back, I go, how the hell did I do it all? And even in my book, everything's not in my book. If I would put everything in my book, I'd be 10 times bigger. I'm 76 years old. And the movie will have a lot of the things that's not in my book. So I'm excited about it. And it's going to happen.
Awesome. When's the movie coming out?
We should be casting it by the end of this month. I don't know who's going to play me yet. We discussed a couple people. Somebody's going to play Sonny. It's going to be a New York guy. You all know him. And actually, you're going to see some of your usual suspects in this film that you normally see. But this is not the type of gangster film that you're accustomed to seeing about a boy that grew up in Brooklyn. His father was in it and all that stuff. This here is going to be funny. It's going to be along the lines of Catch Me If You Can. The FBI agent, we're making a female lead. It's going to be a major part. And it's going to be funny. It's going to be good. It's going to be a story that you want to see. You know, you're not going to have all these killings and all that stuff in it. You know, it's not that kind of a film. So I'm sure you're going to love it. It's being directed by George Gallo. And if you don't know George Gallo, you could Google him. He's a writer, director, and he has a film coming out Labor Day called The Comeback Trail, which is with Robert De Niro, Tommy Lee Jones, Morgan Freeman, Ben Groff, Eddie Murphy, whole great cast, and another funny movie. And you could look George up and see other films that he's done. I'm sure that you've probably seen them.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. That'll be really fun to see that. So our next question comes from Catherine. Catherine, are you able to come on screen?
Not really, but I just wanted
Okay.
to say thank you for this opportunity. It is an honor to be here, even if virtually with Mr. Spado. We have similar life missions, let me tell you. And I was wondering about your thoughts on the school to prison pipeline, which affects mainly communities of color. So I wanted to know more about maybe the work that you're doing, might be doing on that end, or your general opinion about it.
The work I'm doing in areas of the colored people?
Well, people that are in prison, especially youth, that are in juvenile centers that might not be receiving an education or rehabilitation services that may help them come back into their communities.
You know what? I've hooked up with a young man named Corey out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm lending my voice to a couple different prison reform groups. And he's hooking me up with a person out here in California. And what he does is, I'll give you a little background about our prison system. First of all, it's the worst system in the world. The United States is 5% of the world's population, but yet we house 25% of the world's inmates. That's a ridiculous figure. Right. In addition, we have probably the lowest recidivism rate of any country. The reason for that, they're in prison, they're really not teaching the inmates to come out to society. Okay, they're not learning anything. They're not learning a trade. They're not getting an education. Very few do, and they do that on their own. So what Corey is doing, he takes inmates when they're first getting out of prison, he gives them a place to live, he makes sure they have transportation, and he helps them get a job and all those things. So, I'm very happy to be involved with a group of that type. Another thing that I'm doing is I have a group of people that are assisting me, and all these bills, prison reform bills. We need more prison reform. Right now, currently, the way things are in the United States, okay, for every inmate, it's a $sign to the Bureau of Prisons. That's all it means. It means money for them. And I'll tell people, no matter what business you're in, always follow the money and you'll find out the source of the problems. It will always revolve around money. And 1991, the worst crime bill in history was ever written. And I don't know what your political affiliation is, but I hate to tell you, it happened to be written by Joe Biden. And he wrote the worst crime bill in history with minimum mandatory sentencing guidelines. And what happened at that point, the prison population went up like a rocket ship. There were two lines, a red, a yellow. And I Googled all this. The red line was for the black people. That shot up like a rocket ship. Yellow line was the white. It went up, but nowhere as near as the black. And then he gave a lot of money to the states that participated in increasing the guidelines to 80, where an inmate has to do 85% of their time. Now, prior to that, if you went to a judge, the judge could have gave you time served, he could have gave you 24 months, whatever the judge wanted to give you and felt what the sentence was. I'll give you an example. In my case, I ended up taking a plea deal on what was called a 924C gun charge. I was not at the scene of the robbery. Nobody saw me give a gun to nobody, but an informant said he did. And that's how I ended up being charged for that. So I took a plea on that there in the robbery. Otherwise, I'd still be in prison today. I signed a deal for 97 months. When I went for sentencing, the judge gave me 60 days on the robbery. And then he looked at me and he said, Mr. Spadel, and he went just like this. He says, Congress has my hands tied. I have to give you the minimum mandatory on the 924C 60 months. So your sentence is 62 months. Now, I knew right then and there, if his hands were not tied, I've been there for 30 months, he more than likely would have released me with time served. So judges no longer can do that. And we got to put the sentencing back into the hands of the judges, not Congress. It's not Congress's responsibility to be sentencing people because they don't know who the people are. But after you've been in for 30 months and you've been back and forth to court, that judge knows who you are. He reads every document, every single paper. He knows who you are. I mean, I had over 50 people write letters on my behalf. He was quite thoroughly impressed. I know I would have gotten time served and I could have walked out. No, I did that 5 years. 2 years ago, the US Supreme Court voted that the 924C gun charge is illegal and unconstitutional and needs to be vacated from everybody's record. What happened immediately? Guys who were in prison with that there, they got released from prison. Other guys who had it, it came off their record. I already did my 5 years. They can't give that back to me. No way. So that's just one example. The RICO laws, you read about the RICO laws, those are illegal and unconstitutional. The minimum mandatory guidelines they got on, and the way they figure out how much drugs. I mean, if you bought 1 gram from somebody and they caught that person who sold you that gram would become, before you know it, kilos, multiple kilos. And you get charged a big charge for it, which means it could be a 10 or 20-year minimum mandatory sentence. You know, I just heard today they busted a marijuana thing here in California. Supposed to be the largest in history. 1-point-something billion that the cartel's been coming in, growing, having greenhouses and growing marijuana. You know how they figured that 1-point-something billion? They figure it by bringing it down to the most minute, which has no relevance. Okay, to bring it down to what the cost of a gram and how many grams that was, and that's how they come up with a 1 billion. No way in the world was it really worth 1.1 billion. But it's just the way they do their math. I hope that helps you folks. Thank you.
Did that help to answer your question, Catherine?
Yes, thank you so much for that thorough explanation. And you brought some
Thank you.
points that I was not fully aware of, and I'm now inspired to read more about it.
Yeah,
So thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you. So I want to go on. I want to make sure we get questions from the other ladies as well. Thank you for that question, Catherine. Really, like you said, great answers. So next we have Paige. You said you can't raise your hand, but you got a question. So Paige, you are up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
How you
Thanks.
doing?
Hey, Ori, I've been in a room with you before on Clubhouse, and you just tickle me to death. I love your sense of humor. I also really want to hear about how you developed that attitude, that a positive attitude is so important. It took me a long time to realize that. I used to hear people say that, and I thought that was a bunch of bull, but I finally really have realized it, and I'd love to hear how you came to that. And thank
it's a
you for
very good
answering.
question, and I'm happy you asked that. You know, when I was 12 years old, I had a paper route, I hustled, and then I got a job at a grocery store and I bagged people. Then I went in the Army. So I was always outgoing. In one sense of the way, I'm a little bit shy, but I'm an outgoing, shy person. I always try to put a smile on somebody's face. Every morning, if it's in a grocery store, a drugstore, or walking down the street, whatever it is. But what happened, man, I forgot the question. Yeah. I went broke the first time, and I couldn't go back to sell the insurance business because it took 30 days for an insurance policy to be approved by underwriting. I needed to make money every day because I had a wife and a daughter. I had to put food on the table. And I ran into a guy in a diner, and he's telling me about combined group of insurance company owned by W. Clement Stone. And he said, I'll introduce you to the manager. You can make $100 a day in cash. I said, introduce me. So I met the manager. His name was Jerry Dente. I still remember him. And he hired me immediately, but I had to go to Boston for 2 weeks with a bunch of other people that were hired. And that's where I first read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, as well as The Success System That Never Failed by W. Clement Stone, which is part of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone were good friends back in the days. And, you know, when I read that book, and I was already a good salesman, But what it did was it gave names to different things that I was doing on a daily basis. Persistence wears down resistance. What the mind can't conceive and believe, you can't achieve. And when people learn those things, and I just got 2 more books in the mail here of Think and Grow Rich. And I'll tell you a funny story about this book. Many, many years ago, back in New York, my friend Lou Perry had a casting agency. Lou was the guy who discovered Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis. Lou was a lot older than me and my friend Frank Russo, and we'd be hanging around Lou's casting office. And we had a saying, whoever spotted the girl first got the girl. And those 2 old guys always beat me. This one day I see this girl come in, positively, very beautiful. I said, that's mine. And this lady and I, we went to dinner that night. We became friends. We never had an affair. But we became friends. And she was a model in New York City for Saks, Brooks Brothers, that type of thing. And she wanted to come to Hollywood to become an actress. And the time was coming that she was leaving. So I gave her a gift. I gave her Think and Grow Rich. It's a true story. I give it to her. I said, read that book. Learn everything you can out of that book. She came out here and we lost track of each other. But when I moved here, I was up at Scandia restaurant on Sunset Boulevard. And a friend of mine tells me he ran into Renee last night. Really? I said, you got a number? Give it to me. Give me the number. I called her up. I invited her to dinner. And we went over on 3rd Street here to a restaurant. She was making then, and I'm going back to 1980. She was making $25,000 a week in a TV show every week that she's on. She became the star of that show. And she was telling me how when she first got here, how tough it was, no money for food, the things that she had to go through, which all young actors and actresses had to go through. It's a tough town for these kids. And then she opens her purse and she pulls out Think and Grow Rich. It was titter, it was tatter. And she said to me, she said, Ori, I never, ever leave home without it. I mean, I was amazed. And then she proceeded to tell me and ask me any advice about what to do with the money she was making and how to invest it and so forth. But, when I hear stories like that, I get very inspired because it's a very inspiring book. And I like people who keep their word. I get an espresso normally. I stop by the Mayborn when I'm out on my walk in the morning. They got a little terrace. I'll sit there and have an espresso. And I met this young girl. And of course, they're all actors or actresses here. And we started talking. She was a nice girl, very pleasant. I told her who I was, all right, about my book. And she, I got to get that there. You know how many times I hear people say, I'm going to buy your book, and they never do. Okay? I hear it all the time. The next day, I'm sitting home, and I get a new friend request on my Instagram. It's her. The next thing I look, boom, I got an order for the book. I said, damn, this girl is good. And I had a talk with her about, because she just moved to town about acting. I talked to her, you got to go on your audition. I said, you got to take as many acting classes, practice your craft as much as you can. And, I urge all young kids who come here for that there to practice. They got to practice. It's like anything else until they get good at it. And we had a nice talk. So I told her, I said, you know what? I said, I'm not going to mail your book. I'll just deliver it to you. So I autographed it. And the next morning, I went there. And there's a picture on my Instagram. You'll see it with this young girl. Okay. I not only, autographed my book, but I also gave her a Think and Grow Rich book. So that's how much I believe in that book, ladies. It works. Never quit. Quitters never win. Winners never quit.
Well, thank you. Thanks for being such a great role model for all of us on a positive attitude, Ori. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paige. Was your question answered? I'll take that. I did. Yes.
Yes, it was.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Awesome. And then Edna, did you want to come on screen and ask your question? Oh, also Think and Grow Rich for Women. If you've tried reading Think and Grow Rich, and for me, it was too dense. I just got it was just too hard for me to sit down and read it. But Think and Grow Rich for Women, which is also from the Napoleon Hill Foundation by Sharon Lechter and Greg Reed. Greg Reed is my mentor. That's also a great book. So if you had a tough time reading, Think and Grow Rich, try Think and Grow Rich for Women. Absolutely amazing book as well. So it's just told from the perspective of a woman, and in today's languaging instead of back from the early 1900s. So Edna,
In today's world, there are many really good books. Dale Carnegie was great. Okay. And all these people that you see out there today, they all learned, they all read these books, they all got different books, they write them different. My next book is going to be a motivational book. I'm going to begin Monday morning writing it. And hopefully I have it done and out by the end of this year. Hi, how
fantastic.
are you? How you doing?
I'm well. How about yourself?
I'm good.
It's really wonderful to hear you and watch you speak to all of us. You're a true inspiration. My question, and I was unfortunately had difficulties getting online, so I missed your first part of your speech. And I was wondering, with your title, you said that it was an accidental gangster. When you were hustling and doing all that you were doing, do you realize that you were involved in some unsavory things, or was it was it really?
I knew exactly what I was doing.
Okay.
No question about it. I knew exactly what I was doing. I had to make a dollar.
Right.
And we wake up, our attitude when you're in the light. You gotta wake up every day. You gotta make a dollar. What am I gonna do today? Make a dollar. You gotta hustle.
No matter whether it's legal or not. That was the drive. Just
it is. You gotta make a dollar today.
By hook or by crook, through anyone or any means.
Huh?
Through anyone or any means.
Right. The greatest story in this book, I think, and I tell everybody there should be a movie, be a great comedy, is how I robbed the LA City jail of cable boxes.
Huh.
All right.
Okay.
Who's crazy enough to do something like that?
People going to copy you then and start becoming masters?
Yeah. But it's like anything else you do in life. You got to strategize it. You got to know where everything is. You got to figure it all out. And no matter whether it's illegal business or legal business, every business takes an investment. You still got to invest money.
Well, I think
you just go out and rob a store,
I think it's honorable that you're taking responsibility for your actions and you don't blame anyone.
I don't blame nobody.
But hopefully you could stay on the straight and narrow.
It's me living in their skin. So I'm responsible.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Nice
My
to meet you.
pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you, Edna. So I have a question, Ori. At what point in your childhood did you or at what age did you realize that some of these things are not legal? Did you always know that? Were you born into that? Was this your family? Because I know it's like the Colombo family that you became the mob boss for, but at what point did you move into the Colombo family? Were you born into it? I just would like to know a little bit of that story.
As a child, I grew up always protecting younger kids from bullies. I was the guy who would fight these people, you know what I mean? And it was funny, after I fought them, we became friends. Okay, because there was a respect. That's where respect comes from, you know? And so I've always been for the underdog, and I've always fought for the underdog. It was just a natural, inherent thing of my life that I had. But I hope that helps. You know, as a child, I was out there. You know, I could remember one time I knew somebody had a piggy bank, and how I crawled into the cellar window, went upstairs to the bedroom, robbed the bank. Yeah, I knew I was doing wrong. But, you know, I did it. That was me. I admit it. I take responsibility. The good,
Yeah, well,
the bad, and
yeah,
the
yeah, just like Edna said, right? The good, bad, the ugly. Well, gosh, I'm so glad that you figured out, right, that there's better out there and that I could do, good things, and then paying that forward to our youth today. And like you said, if I could help one, then great, but you've helped
right.
way more than one. So that is fantastic. And you have your book, The Accidental Gangster. I put a link to it in the chat there. Ladies, if you're interested in getting his book, please go and click that link and purchase that book. Also, I put the link to the Think and Grow Rich book if you're interested in that. But these stories, we see about these things on TV. We see movies. We see a depiction of that life, right? That life. I myself, fortunately, don't know anything about that life except for what I've seen in movies and TV. So I guess the last question I would like to ask you, Ori, is what, as far as the depictions that we see on TV, how close is that to the real life?
Not close at all. You got to
Not close at all.
remember when Hollywood, a writer's got to sit down, the first question that's always asked is, will the people in the Midwest buy a ticket to go see it? So everything in there is just all blown up and not the way it really is. People ask me, what was the downfall of Cosa Nostra? I blame the movie The Godfather. All right, it was a great movie, no question about it. But what it did, it glamorized the life. It's not a glamorous life like you see. Yeah, we had our perks. I never waited in line. A lot of restaurants never charged me, things like that there. Okay, but it's not glamorous. All right, it's a very tough life. And I do not recommend it for anybody. But, so what happened, the movie made it glamorous, and a lot of young guys thought it was glamorous, and they ended up getting involved and getting a life. And then the moment the handcuffs went on, they realized that wasn't for them, and they become informants. And, the Witness Protection Program began 1963-64. Over 19,000 people have gone on the Witness Protection Program. But now in today's world, they go in court, they testify, and they go right back to their home in Brooklyn and Queens like it was nothing. And, is it wrong? I feel it's wrong that somebody that murdered 15 people, all right, gets off and goes home, all right, because he testified against a guy who was his boss, who might not have killed nobody. But they wanted the boss, they didn't want him. They don't care that he killed 15 people. So there's a lot of wrongs in our laws, and those are some of the things that I'm going to be trying to get corrected. And I'd just like to add, anybody that, goes to my website, theaccidentalgangster.com, and purchases my book, I autograph it for you. So I want you to know that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story. And again, for doing what you do, that reform for our children and having them see from a real mob boss, right, turned into, a good person, humanitarian, philanthropist, somebody who's really giving back. I mean, for them to learn from you and hopefully to stay out of that life of crime, like that's your mission to do. I want to thank you so much for being here today. And you're welcome to stick around with us. We got a half hour more for the networking event. If you'd like to stick around, please do. Otherwise,
go ahead. Okay.
Awesome. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to hold on a second. And anybody you want to go ahead and connect with Ori, go connect with him on his, I connected with him on Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
Yep, just go ahead and reach out to him. And he's very, like he said, very accessible. So if you want to have him come speak to your group, if you have a group of people, or if you know somebody that runs an event that has people and you'd like to have him come speak to them, please, reach out to him and make it happen, make it happen. So today where are we, Legend? We're talking about gratefulness, right?
Yes,
That's our theme of the
23
day.
23-second commercials, what you're grateful for. May I do my quick announcement real fast?
Yes, of course, please do.
Yes, ladies, again, we are going to have speakers open mic after the introductions. I barely have anyone on my list for this week, so I need more names, please. So if you would like your chance to speak for 4 minutes and tell your story or life lessons without selling your products or services, please put #speak in the chat. I need more names on this list. That's my announcement.
Thank you. And the ones who put their name on the list are saying, you don't need more names on the list, Legend. You don't need more names. Fantastic. Awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go as I see you ladies on my screen. And so just, 23 seconds. Marianne, are you available to time today? I'm not sure if you're available, or if not, we have, there she is. Oops, there she's gone.
No, I'm here.
Marianne.
I'm here.
Yeah, you disappeared. You were on the screen, then you disappeared.
I don't know why. Hold on. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Here we go.
There she is. Okay, yellow card means you have 5 seconds left. We're going to go 30 seconds, Marianne, because we have less people today. So 30 seconds. Yellow card means you have 5 seconds left. And then the red one means please stop. It's time to stop. So it's 30 seconds. We're talking about, what are you grateful for? So if you want to just share whatever it is that you're grateful for. I'm going to start with Sally. You're up, Sally. Go and unmute yourself. And what are you grateful for?
Hey, everyone. Got me. Okay. I am grateful for my husband, my family, my cats, my parents, who are going through a really hard time right now, and I could use some prayers for them, and my business that I started. So, and for Linda, because she inspires me all the time.
Thank you so much, Sally. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Next up, we have Legend. What are you grateful for, Legend? But what I do here, I did something weird. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Legend, what are you grateful for?
So this week in particular, I am grateful for, I don't mean to sound negative, but the friends who are actually there in times of need. You have those friends who will be there, you can go out and hang out with, but those who truly see when you're struggling and will actually have the hard conversations with you and be there at whatever hour or whatever time of day. And that's me.
And I was talking and nobody could hear me because I was muted. Thank you so much for sharing that, Legend. And that is so extremely important for us to have those people in our lives that we can, have when we need them, especially. I mean, have all times, of course, but especially when we need them most. So next up, we have Edna. You want to go and share with us, what are you grateful for?
Like Legend, I'm grateful for the fact that we're able to connect via internet. We've brought the world closer together, and for friends and family that's far and wide. But I thank you for coordinating this event for all of us on every other weekend. And I thank you and everyone for sharing your experiences as well.
Thank you, Edna. And I have to know, what is that behind you that's sticking up on your right-hand side?
My right-hand side?
Is that a light?
It is a light.
Oh, okay.
I'm embarrassed that you see my desk and my workspace here.
Well, so funny because first I thought it was some kind of like tooth cleaning thing, but I was like, it's a little big for that. So.
It's really big. It's a great light. I got it at Costco. It's incandescent or fluorescent, so it kind of really brightens the room when I need it. So
that's cool. I love it. I love it. Awesome. Thank you.
But
I might
generally I don't share my whole desk there.
There we go. But what's that on your ceiling? Just kidding. Thank you so much, Edna. Appreciate you being here. Thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
next up we have Erica. Erica, are you able to unmute yourself?
There
We
we
have a
go.
lot of
Got
people.
it.
There we go. Okay,
Got
Eric,
it.
you want to, Erica, you want to go and share with us, what are you grateful for? Where'd she go?
You know, besides all of the personal things like friends and having my health and so forth, at this very moment, I'm going to say that I am grateful for the opportunity I've been given to move out of corporate life and being stunted and given this opportunity to spread my wings and fly, even though I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm going to give it a try.
Congratulations. Let's hear it for Erica for making that move, right? Women action takers. You are a woman taking action. I love it. I love it. Congratulations. Here's to
Thank
much
you.
success for you. Next up, we have Marianne. Marianne, what are you grateful for?
You know, it's interesting because, you know, a lot of these these self-awareness kind of programs talk about what is, you know, when you wake up in the morning, you know, find 3 things you're grateful for. And that just boggles my mind because there's about 500 things that I'm grateful for as soon as I wake up. So that's it. Just, you know, really stop and think. There is countless opportunities to be thankful and grateful.
I love that. That's so, so true. And when we look at it that way, then we're able to see more that we can be grateful for, right? So congratulations. Thank you so much. Patricia, you want to share with us, what are you grateful for?
All right. Hi, everyone. I am grateful for the abundance of life, love, and healing in the world, of course, the success and well-being of my children and their families, and for my clients and their commitment to growing, as well as my purpose that I get to share through my work and business. That's it.
And fantastic. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Appreciate that. Next up, we have Pamela. You want to share with us, what are you grateful for, Pamela?
Yes, thank you. I once heard that gratitude is the path to peace. And since I found the present moment about 6 years ago, because I'd lost it for a really long time, I realized that the present moment gives us everything we need. And that is truly the path to tranquility. I'm sitting here with a puppy on my lap. My daughter is still sleeping, and my life is perfect because it is.
Awesome. Thank you, Pamela. I love that. I love that. The present definitely is a present. The present is a present, right? Okay, next up, we have Catherine. Catherine, you want to share with us, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful for so many things, but I must say what she just said is exactly how I feel. That gratitude is really the pathway towards peace. And the minute I open my eyes in the morning, the first thing that comes out of my mouth is thank you. Thank you, Lord, that I am alive, that I have all these opportunities. I mean, I have an overwhelming number of reasons to be grateful. So I only pray to God that I'm using the best of my ability to do the best and serve in an efficient way. I feel like I'm here to serve youth in particular. So I'm very grateful for this moment that you have put together for us, Linda, where we're coming in touch with someone that has gone through so much and that is advocating for the people that I live for. I thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And, you know, it's funny, I didn't realize I had 2 Catherines. And so I put the other Catherine on the spotlight because Catherine Montero, you're on audio only. And so I was like, that's so interesting. Catherine is speaking without her lips moving. I like that. That's so amazing. But thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah. And I'm glad you were able to make it here today to hear Ori speak because he is doing that work. So next up, Catherine Alexander, you want to share with us, what are you grateful for?
Well, I'm sort of a contrarian, I guess. I'm really grateful that so many things are falling apart. I think we really need to have that old chrysalis disappear. And while it's sad and there's a sense of loss, especially when things that are lovely disappear, it still gives a chance for new things to come. So the dissolution is actually a good space. It's actually a liminal space where new things can be born and come into fruition. But you have to go through the grief and the loss of losing. I think that's part of it too, and realizing how it's part of the cycle of life, loss. And loss is a measure of how much you care, and that's fantastic. But there is always more. The world never dies, it just changes.
I love
So that's
that.
what
Thank
I'm
you.
grateful for.
Yeah, thank you so much. And for that butterfly, analogy there that you threw in there. Thank you. I appreciate that. And such a good perspective. Next up, we have Bailyn. You want to go and share with us, what are you grateful for?
Hi, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay, wonderful. I'm like Catherine. I am just so grateful for everything changing, everything, shall we say, dying and falling apart so that we can help rebuild, because it has really gotten me to the place of, oh my gosh, it's time for my work to finally come out, and I need to get completely dialed in. And so it's really pushed me to get dialed in so that I can serve my purpose and help the world. That's what I'm grateful for. Change.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love it. Different perspectives of everything, right? That's the thing, is as human beings, we have this ability to be able to bring the different perspectives. So what am I grateful for? Let's see. I don't know how to do this. Hold on. Okay. What am I grateful for? Well, first, I'm grateful for you ladies, and I'm grateful. I have a different perspective too. I think that oftentimes we look outside of ourselves for what we're grateful for, but I think it's time for us to start looking inside. Like, what am I grateful for? I'm grateful that I allowed myself to put on this event. I'm grateful for the fact that I allowed myself to do a lot of the things that I'm doing in my life. And because I found that as far as gratitude goes, I was always looking out to the outward world as to what I was grateful for, but I realized that I wasn't giving myself any credit for that. So that's what I'm grateful for, is to myself, for allowing myself and putting myself into these places that I'm doing these things I'm absolutely loving. And that little bug likes it too, whatever, it's right there. So thank you everybody for sharing what you're grateful for. Truly appreciate you all for being here and for sharing that with us today. So next up, Legend, we have our open mic, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And I need you to pick a number between 1 and 4.
Okay, good. You got some extras. 3.
3. Okay, that is Rachel Heerman. Rachel, I know I sent you a message that in order to speak, you do have to accept the invitation to come up as a panelist. So I'm going to send you that right now, and you can be our speaker's open mic.
I'm really good at muting myself. Clubhouse got me really comfortable with muting myself constantly, but if she's not able to come up within, like, let's say the next 10 seconds, I want to make sure we keep moving on. I will actually, my alternate number is number 1. So let's see. I don't see Rachel coming up. So Rachel, next time, if you want to participate in the open mic, you'll need to come up here onto the screen for us to be able to see you. Okay. Who is number 1?
Number 1 is Paige Davidson.
Paige, you're up, girl. Okay, so this is 4 minutes for you to share your story. And I want to make sure I spotlight you here. Hold on a second. And so Paige, you have 4 minutes to share your story. During that time, I'm going to be taking some notes, and then I'll give you some feed forward afterwards. And I call it feed forward because I believe in moving forward instead of moving backwards. So Paige, you're up. No sales. That's the only thing I ask, is that for you to share your story. And if you want to incorporate Sally's fat cat into it, you can do that as well.
Well, thank you. I'm going to incorporate what I'm grateful for into it, because I think I wasn't showing up when you were asking people to do that. But I'm a person who spent over 40 years battling with weight and eventually obesity and morbid obesity. My early struggles began with weight and diet culture that we have in the United States and that I had in my home. And I developed really early on, without realizing it, a negative attitude toward anything having to do with health and weight loss. and a really poor mindset, poor thinking, disordered thinking with all of those things. And I didn't know it. I didn't realize it. So I tried every diet for years. I tried everything known to man. I could diet well. I'm a rule follower, but I would start a diet. I would do that and do it as long as I could hang on. But then I eventually I couldn't follow the restrictions. I couldn't do all the weighing and measuring and counting and journaling and all of that stuff. And I would eventually quit because I couldn't do it anymore, go back to how I was eating, gain all that weight back plus more. And that caused me to eventually gain up to over 300 pounds, at which point I subjected myself to weight loss surgery. I was the second weight loss surgery patient in Kentucky. It was very early on. It was not real. They didn't know a lot about long-term side effects, but I was desperate and I didn't even think about any side effects that they did say were potential issues that I would need to deal with later on. I was just desperate to just feel normal, to be normal, to look normal, to fit in. So I did the surgery. The surgeon told me, Paige, I can operate on your stomach, but I can't operate on your brain. And I didn't have any idea what he was talking about. So I did lose 150 pounds. But I did gain a lot of that back. I got back up to 250. And so, I found intermittent fasting, which is a way to eat very healthfully. It's not a diet. I started on a journey that I thought was yet another weight loss journey, but it was really a spiritual journey for me. I had great success. I lost 110 pounds, but along the way, that became a footnote. I am grateful. I want to say that I've learned through many years of difficulty and struggle, I've learned some amazing lessons about positive attitude, about healthy habits, about a healthy mindset, all of those things. And I could go on about those for a really long time because I'm passionate about those things. That's what I gained when I lost the weight. I gained so much. And that caused me to have the ability to pivot as a menopausal woman of 58. I had a career of 21 years with the state of Kentucky as a trainer, and I enjoyed it. I was a very good trainer, got lots of great feedback, was very successful, but I was never passionate about it. I didn't care deeply about it. I didn't love it. It was a job. So at 58, I have now the ability, God has really given me the ability to use all of that experience. I don't think anything was unplanned, but to learn those lessons and now move into a career just where I am able to work with people and help people and use all of the years of struggle to learn all of those lessons about mindset and positive attitude. It was so fun to hear Oria talk about, positive attitude from his gruff little self. So I enjoyed that very much, but that's where I am. And that's my story. And I'm deeply grateful for the fact that I used all of those difficult years of challenge to heal my emotional and spiritual and physical and mental, aspects of myself. So that's been a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Paige. And Paige does tell her story in our book, Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. So I did put a link to order pre-copy, pre-order your copy for that in that link right there. But what we're going to do right now is, before I go into the feed forward, surprise, surprise, Paige, I'm going to share your video. So ladies, this is Paige's story.
my goodness, brought so
Yeah,
many tears to my
please.
eyes.
Please unmute yourself. If you first, that's Paige's story. That's the abridged version. That's just a couple of the excerpts that we've taken out of her story in the book, Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. And it was interesting because when Ori said, he said, I was walking in the yard and I had this title, The Accidental Gangster. This is exactly what happened to me. I wasn't walking in the yard, but I woke up one morning and I had two titles of two that I knew I had to write. And one of them was Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore, because that's my story. I have a different story than everybody in the book. Everybody has their own story, but that was my story. I felt invisible for the first 51 years in my life. And now I've stepped into that invincibility piece. And so, Paige, I want to thank you for sharing your story in that book. But of course, if you want to get, I had no idea Paige was going to be the number I chose. By the way, Legend does not give me the names of who the numbers are. I never have any idea. So when I heard it was Paige's, I was like, oh, good, I get to show her commercial. This is awesome. But Paige, so for some feed forward, first, I want to share, I want to share one thing that I would love to see you do differently. And that was you kept on moving back and forth, like your chair was moving back and forth. And so that meant the back of your room was moving back and forth. So I was, could cause a little bit of seasickness for some people, for that. So other than that, though, I really loved you said this one word that I think it's that a lot of us can relate to, and that's diet culture. And I never heard it told that way, but we hear about the words diet, and Garfield says diet is die with a T, that comic and stuff. But the diet culture, I think there's a lot of us that can relate to that. When we tell our stories and we tell them in a way that people can relate to them, it can relate to people. That's when they want to make those, further connections, those further relationships. And this year, I'm all about creating relationships. So I love the way you did that. You tell your story. You only had 4 minutes to do it. And your story is a very long story to tell, like as you will read in the book, ladies. But it's, I really love the way you told your story. So thank you so much. I truly appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for that feedback. And trying to get more comfortable on video is something I'm really working on. I think you can see I'm nervous. I am sitting in a chair that moves. And I didn't realize I was doing that until you said that. And then I thought, yes, I was doing that. So I'm working on learning to be more comfortable on video. I thank you for the opportunity to do that. And I also just wanted to thank you and your team for that video, because it told my story in a very honest and yet respectful way. And whoever did the music was genius, because I just love that subtle change in tone and mood in the music when things kind of turned. And I think you all did an amazing job, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I'll share that with them, because I do not do the videos at all, but I'll share that with my team for sure. And if I could use that as a little snippet for a testimonial, let me know. I would be appreciative of that.
Of course.
Fantastic. And so here's the thing I wanted to share. So thank you so much, Paige. I want to thank you for doing that. And I love these events because it's opportunity for us to connect with each other, hear our stories. Different people will share their stories at different times, and it all depends on, it's a luck of the draw. It really is, because Legend has those names come up, and then she tells me to pick a number, and I pick a random number. So I never know who I'm going to pick, but everybody has a story. We all have a story to tell, and maybe we don't know how to share that story. Like Paige just mentioned, I'm trying to get better at doing videos. And so first I want to say, I'm going to take one of those words out of your vocabulary page, and that is the word try, because you're not trying, you're doing it. You're actually taking the steps. So we don't try something, right? We actually do or we don't do. That's the two options. We do or we don't do. So just by you doing the video was another action step that you took in order for you to become better at doing videos. I myself have done over 4,000 live videos. I've interviewed like 500 people on red carpet interviews in different places. So I'm very comfortable in front of the camera. I'm almost more comfortable in front of the camera than I am in person, because I've done so many. The point here is that the more you do it, the more comfortable you become. You might never be fully 100% comfortable doing it, but you'll become more comfortable. You might, like for me, again, I turn on the camera and I just light up, right? It's one of the things that helps me to move into that place of like being on stage. So you're doing it, you're taking the action steps. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you for doing that.
Thank
And, that's
you.
another thing is with these books, right? I mean, how many interviews have many of you ladies? I've scheduled 70 interviews in the last 2 weeks. This isn't what I do as my business, is scheduling interviews, but I thought maybe I should add this because I'm really good at coordinating it and making it happen. But it's been awesome. What I'm doing is I'm helping the women in my books to become seen, to be heard, because this is so important for me. This is my mission and my passion. While I'm here on this planet, my goal is to help as many women to have their stories, seen and heard. And so I'm doing that. I'm taking the actions to do that. So think about that in your own life, in your own business. What are some of the things that you could be doing differently that could get you the results that you want to get? Like maybe everything's running along smoothly right now. I was just talking to one of the authors this morning, and she was saying, I'm so comfortable in what I'm doing, and I'm ready to move to the next level. Well, the next level means new challenges. It means trying something new. It means getting out of your comfort zone. It means taking steps that you didn't take before. How we up-level ourselves is by putting ourselves out there and doing something differently. So I want you to think about that. If I'm really comfortable for me, this is how I see it, is if I'm really comfortable in what I'm doing right now, I'm not stretching myself enough. This means it's time for me to think about something different and to put myself out there in a different way, to stretch my comfort zone, to enlarge the size of it. So then now when I get comfortable in that place, it's time for me to stretch out again and to just continue to do that, to continue to reach out, to do something different, whether it's reaching out to people for help, it's reaching out to get you seen and heard in different ways, whatever it is. Break through that comfort zone and just like bust through it and turn it into a different size, and then just keep enlarging it. So, congratulations for what you're doing, Paige. Putting yourself out there. You have a very important story that a lot of people can learn from. Intermittent fasting is something I never heard of until I was in that Clubhouse room and I heard you talking about it. So what I do, Google intermittent fasting. What is this? I don't know about you ladies, but I know Sally's story. She had put on some weight, and she, during the COVID, she lost like 40 pounds. And I myself, how many of you have put on weight during COVID? Like they called it the COVID 15 first, but then for some it's turned into the COVID 15 plus. Okay, 15 times 2 or whatever it is. It doesn't even matter. But the point is that from this point forward, we can make a decision to change whatever it is that we have going on in our life. From this point forward, I get to decide, what am I going to do when I get off this call? Am I going to go eat some some fried, like a bucket of fried chicken and some ice cream and stuff like that? Or am I going to go make a salad? I get to choose. And that's the thing, is we get to choose. And so I thank every single one of you for choosing to be here today. We got 2 minutes left. I do like to end on time. And at 1:15, so in 45 minutes, we're going to be on Clubhouse, continuing the conversation with other women entrepreneurs. So if you're interested in that, it's under the Women Action Takers Club in Clubhouse. And we're going to be running the networking event over there. It goes anywhere from an hour to 3 hours is the most we've gone so far. But I just want to give everybody an opportunity to get up on that stage. We have more time over there. There's more time to share your story. It's not like 23 seconds, because here I'm very limited on my time. So over there, we do extend it out. And I'm looking forward to hearing some of you over there. Anybody have anything they want to say in this last 1 minute? Marianne. Oh, you're waving. Okay. Can you stay on the call?
Say goodbye.
Thank you.
Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I'm going to stop recording. And by the way, that was